Hey guys, Ben Labadie here again with Business Entrepreneur Weekly and Henry Svec. Henry, how are you doing this week?
Great, Ben. How are you?
Good, good, good.
I got my Mount.
Man,
Hey,
just
I got my Mount Allison. Did you see my Mount Allison? Do you know what Mount Allison, where it is, a university?
no, I don't.
Sackville, New Brunswick. The university has just over 1,000 students. The town has about maybe 3,500 people.
Okay,
It's one of the best universities in Canada, but it's really tiny. It could be a town in Chatham-Kent with the university. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Small
very
town
cool.
with a great university.
That's pretty neat stuff. So, hey guys, if you've ever never watched this before, this is brought to you by PIReporters.com, fighting for your community. And this is Business Weekly, Business Entrepreneur Weekly, reporting local business. And this is our little live show that we've just kind of started. Henry, what do you guys got going with PI Reporters that
Well,
you
this week,
sent?
yeah, the journalist sent me. He's doing an article on Simpson Fence. It's up tomorrow, and another one on Glasshouse Nursery. So he's talking about every week he does a couple companies and how they're coping and surviving or thriving in COVID. And on the PI Reporters side, on the non-business entrepreneur, we did a story on the $4 million garage. he did some digging there,
Oh,
yeah. And people can get in free for 30 days. Just go to pireporters.com and when it asks you for a coupon, it says, do you have a coupon? Just type in 30, the number 30 and days, all lowercase, and it's free for 30 days. Read all our back articles and see if you like it and support us if you do. It's $1.99 a month after 30 days. Or you can just cancel and don't pay anything.
awesome stuff. So yeah, like some businesses are opening. The nurseries
What's
is one
opening
of them.
tomorrow? Because I'm confused, Ben. I don't know. What's opening? Tell me.
I'm a little bit confused by it as well. I know the golf courses are open, or allowed to be open.
But no bathrooms,
Campground,
I heard.
but no bathrooms. Oh,
Yeah, I heard the bathroom public, they can't open the washrooms or something.
yeah, it's gonna be very interesting because
Oh,
pulled out my clubs
interesting, all right.
yesterday, and I'm thinking something for me to do is you know something with golf, and I'm
You
not a
golf?
golfer by
Are
any
you a
means, but
golfer?
I'm not. I've golfed, but I'm
Yeah,
not good.
yeah.
I can hit the ball somewhat straight, but at no point would I say I'm an even half decent average golfer.
So what
But
do you
it's
think?
something to do.
What do you think of Chatham Kent? Like I looked at the numbers. What was it? 137 cases out of 100,000 people. Right now, there's one in the hospital. Unfortunately, we had one tragic death. But if you look at that for 100,000 people, Ben, that's really, and I think out of those 137 cases, how many are the folks working in the greenhouses, which puts us
Yeah.
down to like 40 non-greenhouse people. We don't know anything about the, pre-existing. We don't know a lot of information. Like, so did we have to do all this? Could I ask you that question? I mean, I'm sorry. I got to ask that. As a business, we're doing a business thing today. So I got to ask, as all the businesses
Yeah.
have been affected, people have shut down, blah, blah. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, there's two thoughts here. Either everything that we took action to do worked out, and that's why we have the result we have, or if you look worldwide for a global pandemic that shut down the world, okay, that shut down the world. People are gonna. There's many bankruptcies, many people losing their entire life savings and their livelihoods. A lot of businesses won't be back. So there's a lot of death going to result as kind of a result of what we have done here. I myself think it's an incredible overreaction.
Oh, so you don't think we had to do all this stuff?
I don't think it would have made a huge difference. But again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. But if you look at Georgia, they just opened. They are doing okay. There's not a spike so far. But also, when you also consider that most of the things that people getting this virus and ultimately not making out too well are coming from enclosed areas, nursing homes, prisons, apartment buildings. Look at New York, look at Detroit, a lot of apartment buildings, a lot of people living close together. Look at Washington, also northern states. We're south, we're the most south in Canada. But when you look at it, a lot of people that are a little bit more north than us, they're staying in longer. And 66% of the people in New York who were hospitalized because of coronavirus, they were staying indoors. They were
Yeah.
staying indoors.
When you
So
look at
there's got to be
Canadian, you look at New Brunswick, you look at Nova Scotia. They in Nova Scotia there was one nursing home that accounted for the majority of the deaths and the problems. So how do you explain? You know, like in Blenheim, we have one post office. So if you want to get your mail, no one delivers it. You have to go to the post office. Everybody goes to the post office. You would think that would be a classic place where everybody would get sick, but it didn't happen. Is there something like, are we missing something? Like I don't know. There's just, I don't understand it. It's great,
yeah.
but I don't
And
understand. Unfortunate
well,
death and that. But
there's a couple things to look at when you look at the local case rate. And that is not everybody's getting tested. Okay.
mm-hmm.
If you were to test everybody, you'd find that way more people had it, I believe.
Sure.
Because a lot of people have said, well, what are your symptoms? Well, stay home. If it gets worse, come in and then we'll test you.
I believe
so. A lot of people don't get those crazy, bad symptoms, but they do get symptoms that concern them, but they're told to stay in place and isolate for 14 days. I talked to a gas station attendant, and she had said that she had all the symptoms, and if they get worse, to come into the hospital, but don't come in to get tested until they get worse. So how many people like that? If you start testing everybody, like with the produce company there,
right.
if you go in there and you find somebody, then you test the rest of them. The rest of them may not have had any symptoms, but the more people you test, the more you'll find that, hey, they probably had it. And a lot of people are, and when you think about Walmart or Bob's Food Basics, who have pretty much a monopoly on everything right now, if you want food, you got to go to these grocery stores or Walmart. All those, it's a funnel. It really is a funnel, kind of like the post office in Blenheim. So how are we not getting these crazy results? And because we don't see those crazy results, I'm wondering, why is a Walmart allowed to be open? They sell clothing, they sell everything that these other stores who are forced to close can't sell. You know what I mean?
So am I right? Tomorrow you have to curbside, or you can't go into a store tomorrow? Like, can you go into a clothing store in Chatham, Canada, or can you go into any business, or what's the rule?
I think you can do anything curbside, I believe.
But how do you buy clothes curbside? If I need socks, how do I buy socks curbside?
Like, that's an obstacle.
I'm running out of socks. What do I do?
You just you can go into Giant Tiger. You can go into Walmart.
No, I want to go to the Blenheim Ford McIntyre menswear store. I don't want to go. I go local when I can. Can I go in and buy socks?
I don't believe you can go in yet and buy socks.
So how do I buy?
This is what my argument is with the local business.
Yeah.
All right. That you want to shop at, you want to support local.
Yeah.
Yet Walmart's allowed to sell socks all day long, and you can walk into there.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean. I think it's a little unfair. I think it's.
Well, we can't focus though as local business. We you know what, local is actually isn't going to be just a thing you do to support people. It's actually going to be a necessity. So the question is, how do we get local butchers again? We need local butchers, because I'm old enough to remember local butchers. We had 2 in Blenheim. We don't have any now. We need that. We need more of that. How do we do that, Ben? How can we get more local everything, so that if things happen, we can sort of, in our community, we can take care of each other? How do we do that?
Well, I think that's going to naturally happen, over a period of time. People are going to start, farmers are going to be needing to sell their produce locally.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's going to be more of a focus. And then that opens up more options to buy locally when they market it to people.
We might need legislative changes, though. I don't know if can you just open a butcher shop? I don't know. I
don't know if I think there's probably a lot of stuff to a butcher shop.
Yeah.
But I think we were talking about going back to old ways like a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to start doing. People are doing that stuff. They're cutting their own hair, right?
Yeah.
You used to do that, My mom used to cut my hair. right?
Was that cool
When I
for
was
a
out.
while though, or are we just going to throw the doors open and get back to it as soon as we can? I get this sense that people are itching just to get back to it the way it was. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder when I heard things today. The market went up 1,000 points, all because of some, some person saying something, and possibly they're in the second stage of a vaccine
A
somewhere.
vaccine.
And everybody just goes, let's get back to it. We're going to have baseball, football, all that stuff. And then I heard the University of Windsor isn't going to be face-to-face. How do they predict the future for September already when most universities have a hybrid model where they want students to come and they're going to work with them? But Windsor just said no. Now, we talk about that spider economics. What does that do to all the people that are associated with that? Or if, say, St. Clair and Chatham-Kent says no face-to-face, what happens?
I think a lot of people are a little bit premature on those decisions,
Yeah.
and they could be alarmists at the top making those calls. I don't know how far in the future they have to plan when they're spending money now.
Right. Right.
So that could play a part into it. But I think if you look at what Florida and Georgia are doing, they're doing this soft opening type thing. North Dakota has been open, but people are going back. Like I initially thought maybe restaurants won't be the same at 50% capacity because people be scared. But I think we're all trying so hard to find something to do.
Yeah.
That, especially in Chatham-Kent, we have that low number.
Right.
The more you read that low number, how scared are you? How scared are you now versus how scared were you when this just started, right? We were told everybody was going to die.
Did you believe that really? Did you really think that? I didn't think that.
I didn't think that.
Really?
But when you read all the articles and you see the media and how scared people were, right? They were buying toilet paper out of control. There was a lot of irrational thought going on.
Toilet
right?
paper still doesn't make sense, right? It's
Yeah.
not that kind of flu. I don't think you need toilet paper.
Yeah, it was, but it's kind of bizarre. But I think we were all sold on this being way worse.
Well, it's somehow, you mentioned it before, it's somehow you're not patriotic if you don't buy in. Like if you say some of the things that we've discussed, people get upset with because, it seems like we're anti-Canadian or we're hurting our neighbors if we don't totally self-isolate. So there isn't a lot of room for other opinions here, Ben. It's not like we have an open discussion.
Yeah, and I think we're I was talking to a gym owner today, and I think one of their biggest challenges opening up is not going to be the people that want to show up, because they'll have people that want to go. I want to go back to a gym as soon as I can, but it'll be the people that shame them for these little extra things that they didn't do or haven't or might have overlooked, that in their opinion puts everybody and their grandma at risk.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what they're scared of. That they're not scared of anybody getting COVID at their gym. They're not.
Well,
because they know.
I was just sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, Postman Fitness here has an online thing starting tomorrow where you actually take a class. You can just go in at 9:30 and work out with people. It's a bit like a version of Peloton, but it's local and it's geared to different groups and different people. So you can log in and work out. So that's another version of a gym that'll probably go on well beyond this. So there is that innovation happening, right, in that industry.
Yeah, there's a lot of innovation. The only problem with that innovation is that everybody can do a workout video, a live video.
This is live. You're actually with you're actually like we're doing. Like there's actually working out stuff and you're doing it with the person, I guess.
Yep. And can they sell that is what it comes down to. Will people pay for that? And I think people will if they know the trainer. I know people doing a lot of online one-on-one personal training.
How's that
do
going?
It in a group.
How's that going? The one-on-one stuff.
Well, I've heard from 2 trainers that I've spoken to that do it, that it's going okay. Like they're starting to be able to do more stuff. The only problem is that the people that are doing the workouts at home don't have the equipment that they would have in the gym.
Right.
So that's one obstacle. So, when you're a trainer, you can find out a lot of body weight exercises and improvise in a lot of different ways to, help the client you
How
still
do you
get a
bust
great
through
workout.
the internet free issue? People think, I mean, people are used to getting internet free stuff, and paying online seems to be a bit of a barrier for a lot of people for anything.
I think for that specific industry, I think it has a big obstacle because there's so many people in the fitness industry.
Mm-hmm.
So many ways of being sold. All you have to do is click YouTube and you have an unlimited supply of workouts.
Right.
Okay. Where personal trainers, and I was a personal trainer, where they come through and they're the most valuable is that they put a faith in the client, and that client then believes the trainer and does the work, right? And gets
Yeah.
greater results that way, right? So there's a trust there. And let's see here. Many people now working from home. This will be the new normal for 2020. That's an interesting thing is commercial spaces going to, when you talk about your spiderweb economics,
Mm-hmm.
it goes all the way up to the landlord,
Absolutely.
right?
I
That
believe that.
landlord.
I think we've forever changed office rentals.
Yeah.
We have a few office buildings, not too many, and I can tell you
Mhm.
that one of the things I see as I look at this and I say to myself, do we really need office buildings at the same quantity in the same places? Like our office buildings have different tenants, large tenants, and so they're stable and they have 10+ year leases. But when you look at a small office, do you need that if you can work from home? I think it's going to change. But I think one thing we're overlooking, when telecommuting from home started, many people didn't like it after a while because of the boundary issues, the stress issues, not being able to connect with human connection with colleagues. So the best model before COVID was if you were telecommuting from home, you still went into the office 1 or 2 days a week because you needed that to stay connected. I don't know how this is going to work long term if you never go to an office. I just, there's something about going to meet with your colleagues and brainstorming in a room and connecting that way that continues to motivate people. So I'm kind of I think it's going to change. I don't think there'll be the same demand, but I think people will want to have a mixture of both. And I think that's what's going to happen at universities. That's why I think Windsor blew it, because we're very familiar with Atlantic Canada because we have property there and student properties. And the Atlantic Canada Association of Universities decided that the proper model is a hybrid model. So some students will have labs, others will not. They're very diligent about how they're going to take care of students. So I think you have to realize there's going to be some different models that'll be effective. But just to blanketly say we're no longer having this. I think for restaurants, though, I don't know if the 50% full model is going to work. I think eventually we're going to have to be comfortable being in a restaurant with everybody. And I think that only comes with either what they call the herd immunity or a vaccine, or just people voluntarily saying, you know what, I'm fine going in. They take your temperature, they check you before you go in or something, and you go eat.
I believe we can get back, if you were to open the doors and say things are open,
right?
I think we could be back to normal if you just let people do stuff very soon. Whether it's a good idea or not, I don't know. But I can see if a bar were to open or the casino were to open, I believe that would be packed the next day. The people that are hesitant, they'll stay at home. They will. But there's way more people that are feeling not scared of anything and wanting to go out and do something.
I think there has to be a clear indication of who's at risk, so that I'm 63. I'm probably not going to be as comfortable in a restaurant bar as you are because you're young and you're healthy too. Yeah. So we make those risks and we calculate those risks, and we do that every day when we leave our houses. Before this happened, we always had risks. And if you live in a big city, there may even be neighborhoods you wouldn't go to at night because you know the risk. So I think if people are aware of it, if you have type 2 diabetes and obesity, it's probably not a good idea to be out in bars and restaurants. And if that's a pre-existing condition, or if you're 90, you probably shouldn't be going to a shopping mall, right? There's certain things that might keep us. But for many of the population, I'm starting to think 90% of the population could probably go back to things the way they were. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there because this is our business thing. And I think that we don't know enough, and I think people eventually are going to be doing this anyway. Did you see much of that on the weekend, Ben, when the weather was nice? Did you see a lot of people out and about?
I see a lot of people out and about. When you go out, for an example, I took my mom for a ride a week ago.
Mhm.
In the RV, we just cruised around, went out to Rio for a minute, and came back. And she was shocked at how normal everything looked outside.
Yeah.
So she wasn't used to everything. Like a lot of people, they're under the impression that nobody's doing anything. They're just
Right.
shelter in place, stay at home. But you drive by the superstore, you drive by Walmart, you drive by Giant Tiger, you drive by all these places. You're like, nobody told any of these people, right? Nobody was told to stay at home and shelter in place. There's lineups everywhere.
Right.
There's cars everywhere. Parking lots are full.
Yeah.
So it's a shock to the system. And when people see that, I bet they get a little bit jealous of, why am I
Yeah.
stuck at home and these people are just free?
Well, I wonder about the pause because I heard today people were booking cruises a year in advance because they're on sale. And I started thinking
Yeah.
about that, going, that just tells me that that's a sign that people have just pressed pause and now back to the way it was. There isn't a lot
Yeah.
of change in behavior there. I'm going to go on this DNA cesspool of a cruise because I can get 70% off. So I think that
Right.
there's more and more people that are just going right back to the way it was. And then I heard Europe was opening up for travel so they don't lose the
Yeah.
summer. Like, what does that mean? I was supposed to go to Greece in May, but it got canceled. It was one of those once in a lifetime trips. But of course, Air Canada kept the dough because we could fly some other time somewhere.
Yeah.
That's another thing. When you think of was it 10,000 people that were laid off from Air Canada? What does that do to all the ripple effect or the spider stuff that I talk about? What happens to all the other companies that are involved, the people that make the meals or the snacks and the cleaners and everybody involved in that industry? And I don't think we've seen that yet. I talk about the milk thing today. I was talking about that on a thing I was doing. And for the dairy farmers to be dumping milk, and I remember going to the grocery store when we had a quota on how much milk we could buy. And I'm thinking the dairy farm guys are throwing milk down the drain and people can't buy milk for their families. There's something not working here, like in Canada. Right. I mean, what do you think about that when we're throwing away products? Farmers are throwing away stuff, primarily that are, have this, marketing thing where they all get paid the same and there's no competition.
Well, I think it's bizarre with how many people go starving, right?
I know. Yeah.
If you look at what the Americans did, their farmers, I don't think, are as subsidized. Like their milk dairy industry isn't like ours.
I still think
all.
they threw out a lot because they just no place to sell it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But what the American government did was buy, I think, $1.4 billion of food off of the farmers to support the farmers to feed the homeless.
Yeah.
Right? A little bit socialist getting there, but
well, we have 37 million people, but 10,000 farms control the entire dairy industry for 37 million people. So when you think about that, I mean, if your neighbor wanted to set up, 25 cows and raise them organically and sell the milk, he's going to jail. You can't do that in Ontario, in Canada. It's illegal to have milk and sell it, and they give you all the reasons, but I'm not sure. If we want to go more local and have more micro economies and our communities take care of each other, we need to cover off everything. And I think part of it is regulations. We talk about seniors aging in place. I was looking the other day, we've talked about this before, when provincial government came out and said everybody should be allowed to build or add an apartment to their home so that we can take care of the housing crisis. But every municipality could decide how they did that. And ours decided that you had to be on septics. You had to be on public sewage and you had to be on public water, or you couldn't do that. So you automatically took away all of that from rural Chatham-Kent. In rural Chatham-Kent, you cannot build a secondary apartment for someone to live, a senior or anyone, unless you're on. So that infrastructure isn't there in the country where people want to live now. So there's an example of how government gets in the way of helping us become more controlling of our own situation. And that has to change. I don't know how. I don't want to get into that, but somehow I think people have to start standing up and saying, we want to have more local, because that's what we need to do in case this should ever happen again.
Yeah, and you see a lot of people trying to do their own thing right now.
Like, don't
Well,
give us
just
a
growing
dress.
their own gardens,
Oh,
growing their own
yeah.
gardens. So you get those micro farms, I guess, if
Well,
you
that you can
if you
still do currently without any, government
yeah
approvals. But we're becoming more and more controlled, and they say the federal government's never been more popular because of the $2,000 a month thing.
yeah
So it's going to be hard to change that. Now it's till the end of August. How's that going to change? And the other ripple spider effect of that is, how does that affect businesses who need employees to come back? If you're getting
right
$2,000 a month till August, do you really want to go back to a job with difficult working conditions and the salary's not that great? How do you then bring those people back to work?
yeah, especially if they have the option to stay at home, right?
Yeah.
Because some of them are making more money with the $2,000 a month.
So do you have a business idea, Ben? Because I've got a couple of ones. Do you have any business ideas you want to talk about today?
I do.
Go ahead. Fire
I
away
want to
first, and I'll
do
go at the end. Go ahead.
what's that?
You go first, and I'll go after you.
Well, I had an empty. I think when you look at real estate and commercial and the way people are kind of adapting of this curbside pickup,
Yep.
I was thinking, these shipping containers, how they convert them into nice little things or tiny houses or little offices? Well,
Yeah,
I've
I
been to the
looked into it
container
for
park.
offices. I know them well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to the container park in Vegas. They have two container parks, and it's very cool. And it's got restaurants made out of them and bars and stuff like
The
that.
whole place is
Very
made out of
cool.
containers.
The whole place. Look at Container
Oh,
Park, Las Vegas.
my goodness.
Very cool.
All right.
But what I was thinking is a place called the Pickups. All right. And you
Careful.
put, say, 5 containers
Yep.
side by side. And it's just, you order something online from the Pickups and you get in line and it's at one of those lines. And you can have 5 different businesses there. And again, you're just pulling in beside them. You're getting what you ordered online. And it can still be local. You know what I mean? It's a distribution center, really.
Okay.
So
Well,
that I just
go ahead. Keep
picture
going. Keep going.
I just picture cars pulling in, easily getting the stuff that they ordered from whatever business, that pop-up business, and it could be crafts, it could be whatever, something unique that you wouldn't normally order from like an Amazon, but just to get to order locally and have it that day if they have it in stock.
What would the startup cost be for that, do you think?
Stock,
What
really,
about,
unless they did. Well, the startup cost is you're looking at about $3,000 per container. If
yeah.
you get them used and on a good deal, you clean them up. So you could really have for about $30,000 a setup of 5 containers on an empty piece of land, right? And that's how they would operate. And you can do everything wirelessly from your phone to take payments if it's not already paid for. But I can see somebody having something unique in a storage, bin there, a container, and then marketing it local. And that could be produce. It could be. It could be food. It could be product. And people would just kind of like drive through. It would be like going to a toll booth area
Okay.
off the highway. You got 5 different things you go through, but you're going through in between containers that have your product. And each would be a different business.
All right.
If
I've got
they
something kind of
wanted.
related. I'm cheap
Okay.
though. Mine's only going to cost $5,000 or less to do. And I would create a platform for what I've talked about before is home deliveries. So the platform would be sort of like kind of like Uber, but what it really is it's a home delivery platform for small communities like ours. So you create the platform so that people who want to earn some money can go on and register, and you have a registration process which isn't that difficult. There's a company called Second Key that does background checks for $25. You get background checks if you're in the real estate business. Have you ever used Second Key?
No.
Oh, Ben, if you ever want to rent or do business with someone, have them voluntarily agree to do Second Key on their own and send you the report. You get a social media analysis, background check, criminal reference check, and financial, credit scores and all that stuff. And you get to know the person's background without a lot of time into it. And then these people would put their names out there, say, yeah, I'm Hank, I'm on today. And let's say, forget me, let's say Ben is on there and I'm at home and I'm craving rice noodle, or noodle, is it rice noodle in Chatham?
Yep, rice noodle.
Okay. I'm craving it. So I go on there and I go, here's my order for rice noodle. And you pick it up and you say, okay, I will pick up your order and deliver it. And it'll cost you, I don't know, $20 or whatever you're going to charge me for delivery.
Mhm.
Plus you would get something hopefully from the restaurant we would have some system set up. So I just hit it, and it's a lot like Uber. You pick up the order, you go pick it up
Mhm.
at Rice Noodle, you deliver it to my house, and it's all electronic. I've already paid you. When you get to my house, you text me. It's on my front steps. I pick it out and I eat it. So it would be an app to aggregate all delivery services. So the other day I needed a battery at Canadian Tire. So if I can't go because I'm too old to drive or whatever, I just go on
Mhm.
battery at Canadian Tire, and you happen to have an hour where you're taking orders. You go, hey, I'll pick up that battery here. I'll do it for
Yep.
$15 or something, and you get a commission from Canadian Tire. So it would be an aggregate kind of platform where anybody could go on. They get background checked and everything, and there's all kinds of implications. But I would start at a very small community base. Right? You have some in Ridgetown and Blenheim. I talk about the marina. I think the marina has like 300 slips. So when people come to the marina with their boat, they don't have a car. So if they're
Right.
sleeping over, right, they're limited to what's available. No disrespect, but after a while, just getting what you can get near your home, they might want to get something in Blenheim. So it'd be nice if they had an app. They could open it up and say, I'd like this from Venus de Milo, or I want this from wherever, or this coffee beans from this place. So you could do that. So that's my one. And the second one has to do with the seniors idea, if you want me to bring that up. And that's a little more capital intensive, and that's called share care, where seniors live together in beautiful, say, a duplex with 4 bedrooms in each side. They have their own private bedroom, but they live as a community and they share care. So they might get together and say, okay, we'll hire one worker to help 4 of us because we're now in our 90s. And that we'll have around the clock care, but we'll all pool our funds so we can live in this great place. We have a garden out back. We live in a community. We're not in one of these other institutions. We live in our own home forever, and we share the care. And it's becoming very popular in different cities and communities where seniors get together and share accommodation, just like students do at university. So it's called shared care. That's one thing I'm dying to do someday. Probably in the next 5 years, we'll do one probably out east. But I think that's something that people want to age in place. They don't want to age in some of the places that we've heard about. And we always knew these places existed, but now it's we can't pretend anymore, I think. So those are my 2 ideas.
Well, I like them. And I think with everything probably going to continue on the curbside pickup for many people. So they're going to have the indoor and outdoor, and that's going to be curbside. I think the pickup will be so much easier for delivery service like that in the future, right?
Well, I'd love
Everything's already there.
If anybody listens to this and they want to do an app that'll do that delivery thing, I'd love to do a trial with you for Blenheim and surrounding area, and we'll talk about how we can finance it. But I'd love to do that because it's selfish. I'd like to be able to order on my phone. As I'm getting
I wonder if there's already a app in place that you can just white label it, like something that already works similar.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think you can do anything like that in Blenheim. Can you even get a ride in Blenheim? There's not even a taxi service anymore.
I don't think so. No,
Ridgetown or Erio, and so if you're on aging in place, people, the theme is age in place. I'm 63, and I can tell you, I'm not going anywhere. And most people I know, they're not leaving their homes. They want to age in place or age in at least their own home. And I think that's becoming more and more of a issue now with what we've seen. So the question is, there's an incredible opportunity for business to take advantage, and our community to take advantage of people wanting to live in country, wanting to live in smaller communities where they know they're safer. We should be advertising our COVID rates around the country.
You know what? That's one thing. As a real estate agent, the one thing I would like to get into promoting is Chatham-Kent is more spacious than anybody else. We got more square kilometers than everybody. We're bigger than the GTA in size. So when you think about that and our low COVID rate and the fact that we're Canada's Florida, right? We are the most southern point. There's no better area in Canada, really, to sell that. Like you can sell that.
People build in the country. Like we don't have a lot of opportunities to build in the country. When I was on that Mitchell's, what's the road going to Mitchell's Bay there's a road that goes toward the water tower. Yeah, and there's all these farms over there, but let's say each farmer, and I don't know any of them, but let's say each farmer could take 2 or 3 acres and divide off one lot, or 2 lots. the place would
Yeah.
be full of seniors. And every you know, you look at what was allowed to do in gravel pits. Across from our farm here was a gravel pit that they filled in and built houses on, that backs onto a lake, a kind of a pond, I guess.
Hmm.
And that was done because it was a gravel pit. But and I don't want to do this on our farm because I'm happy to be alone. But there's a lot of people around here who would do this, or other places where you could do this, and it would be just outside of Blenheim, for example, or
Yeah.
just outside of Ridgetown, where they may not have the hookups, but on an acre or two, they can certainly do a proper weeping bed and take care of all those issues.
Yeah.
And that would cause a boom. And this wouldn't be, these would be small builders, or they would be developers or small people like us who might build a couple of them to supplement the retirement or whatever. But this would cause an incredible local industry, right? And think of the ripple effect. And then they have to be serviced. So who's going to cut the grass? Who's going to take care of them? Who's going to provide the food? You'd have to have a kitchen somewhere that would make incredible food, or the restaurants. So it wouldn't take a lot, just a few little nudges, and I think we could take an advantage. I don't want to take advantage of, but we could really respond to the need that's coming, where people want to age in place. And I think our community is with the lakes and the golf courses and everything, we're totally set up for this.
Yeah. And I think if you look at kind of like Mitchell's Bay Area, Grand Point, Pancor, those are, if you just grow a little bit beyond them and you put 10 single floor, 2-bedroom, everything on one floor, 1-bathroom houses, and they're not complicated.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need fancy. You know, you need, and really what you're addressing is a need. You know, do you know if you could just find a square that has 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a kitchen and place to do laundry, you could sell those unlimited.
Well,
right?
our real estate company out east is in student housing, and we just finished 36 beds that have bathrooms in each bedroom. So each student bedroom in this house, there's no more than 6 per side of a duplex. These are duplexes on half an acre. I've talked about them before. And each bedroom has its own bathroom. So if they need to self-isolate, they can. We didn't build it for that reason. We just built really nice student properties. But it's easily transferable to seniors. We could easily have 6 seniors in each side living in an amazing place with a backyard, backs on the nature. You could have people. So there's ways to build flexible kinds of housing, but you have to let small folks like us. I wouldn't do it in this community right now because of taxes and the restrictions, but there's enough of people who would, you have carpenters who would build a couple a year, and you have small businesses that would do it. We need to inspire people to do that by letting them go, like you said earlier. And I think you're going to see an incredible growth here. Look, we did a talk today. I was talking to someone in Toronto, $800,000 condo. So if you're living in an $800,000 condo, Ben, do you want to stay living in that $800,000 condo if you're telecommuting?
No.
No, you could sell it. Let's say your mortgage is 300 something. You take 500 out. You can do a lot in Chatham-Kent with $500,000 you're in real estate. I mean, I would imagine you could get a great place and put some money in the bank.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So there's
that's what was happening before, is with seniors moving out of Toronto down to here. They'd sell their house for 1.2 and come down and buy a $250,000 house, overpay for it, and be okay.
And if you can talk about aging in place, all the services we might create, including the service you talked about, maybe the app delivery services. I mean, have you ever used Uber Eats even? Have you ever had that opportunity, Ben? Use Uber Eats?
I've just used Uber, but I haven't used Uber Eats yet.
The Uber Eats thing, I think I used in Halifax, was really cool because this was before COVID. They actually deliver it, and they text you when it's there, and it's sitting on your doorstep, and you just pick it up and you go in. You don't even have to interact with a human, and you've got food from any restaurant in that community, which I think is a model we should be working on for our communities, because there's so many hidden gems.
I think they have something similar, Skip the Dishes, that operates. There's Uber Eats, but something localized, I think.
Yeah.
What's that?
They won't come to small communities, though. We need some kind of a solution.
I don't think we have. Do we have Uber Eats here? We don't even have Uber.
No, we don't have Uber. We don't have Uber Eats. We have Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels. Yeah. Not the same.
Not the same at all. Have you noticed? I was running with my son yesterday, and ran by a restaurant that had opened, I gotta say, about 6-7 months ago, maybe 8 months ago.
Wow.
And we went up to look inside, and it was empty. So this place, all their chairs, tables, everything is gone and not there no more. So that business, I believe, is either moved or called it a day with, and probably as a result of the COVID
They're saying
restrictions.
50% won't reopen.
Yeah.
And I don't know
And then
about
they have to go through, yeah, and that was just 2 months, March, April, or
right.
March, April, May. Man, this is getting rough. And I saw a business owner, gym owner, they're going to start protesting if they can't open June 1st. They've raised money to stay open for May, right? To not die in May.
Right.
And so they can't fundraise every month, right? That doesn't.
When is the deadline for gyms? Have they said when gyms will open?
They basically gave gyms in salons a very vague whenever later on, but definitely around the last of the openings. So it's going to be, and then they've canceled all kids, uh, soccer and sports in the summer already.
Well, that's another. I did a parenting blog on that because you're going to have to create your own summer camp as parents because you can't let your children loaf all summer. They have to get on with it. But let me get back to the gyms. Are these gyms, do they have a plan for social distancing? Like, do they have it all worked out? Like they move their treadmills so you don't sweat on each other and all that kind of stuff? Or what's going on?
And that's a good question. And the question I asked is, what you got to do to protest is have a plan in place that people can visualize.
Yeah.
To move it along quicker. Because if you leave it up to people that probably don't even go to a gym, that have only heard bad things about germs in gyms, if they're making the policy to keep you closed, that's not going to go well. But I haven't seen anybody so far put in place an action plan to explain to me and to explain to the population what they are doing to make their gym safe. I would like to see gyms start promoting the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
To make people feel better about going to a gym, so that then it makes sense. Well, if we can go to the grocery store, why can't we go to this gym? Look at what they're doing.
Well, you have to find a solution. Like you have to say, okay, the reality is this, and then if the decision is if I don't open, I'm out of business. My business is going to die. Then you protest by opening, but by keeping people safe, having people sign a consent when they come in for the first time, because you're a closed group. You're not open to the public. You have members. Yeah. So when those members come in, they've accepted the risk, they've signed it. But, we talk about risk. We're talking generally healthy people, but we're talking about keeping your distance. Maybe you have time. I talked to one person. Why don't you have in our co-working space, I told you, you rent the whole building. There's no more renting a space or renting the meeting room. You rent the building on the app. So you could technically have an app, and they're not very expensive, where all the members go in and they say, oh, okay, there's 5 people in the gym at 8. I'm going to go at 9 and I'm going to book station 6 or something. I don't know. There's a very creative, cheap, inexpensive way to book different spots in a gym, providing you have that distance. And then you go for it. I mean, if you wait around for people to give you the guidelines, they'll give you guidelines, but you're not, so you need to be proactive, I think.
I think the number one thing to do is be proactive, put out your plan in place. And it's not really a complicated thing to do, right? It's just really space and cleanliness.
I would be opening gym camps with telling parents how a group of 4 or 5 children are going to occupy this gym, just them, and how our cleaning process, the cleaners we hired, how we clean it in between visits, what we do every hour. We might, maybe we go from 8 to 9. At 9 o'clock, we do a quick clean. We have a cleaning, it's going to cost. And this is the other thing. Is it viable? Can you economically afford it? But you have to listen to your customers and create some sense of calm so that they understand. The other one is outdoors is probably going to come back. People are going to want to work out outdoors again because they say that's
absolutely.
So you start running classes outdoors again. You have work. So there's many, but you've got to be at it. You got to be in it. It's like every other business that's going to be successful with any kind of barrier that's thrown up. You've got to take action and take control of what you can control. Because if you wait around for government and people to do it for you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that goes the same for salons, nail boutiques, all these spas. I mean, they're all running through the same problem, and they're waiting, right? And when they started waiting, they said this isn't going to be long. This is a week. This is 2 weeks. This is till the end of March. Now
Mhm.
it's the end of May, and what are they going to? There's no confidence anymore on when they're going to open. So I think the number one thing you got to do is you got to either adjust, and that could be moving your kind of stuff outdoors, and you can
Right.
do that with fitness. Um, you know, with soccer camps and that, like my son's soccer was just canceled for the year, right?
Uh,
And so I talked to him. He loves soccer, right? Loves soccer. So I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put together some practices. We're going to see who the parents and the kids who are comfortable coming out to those practices are. And then we will eventually stumble upon another team that wants to play. And there
right.
will be another team in another area putting their kids together, not waiting. If I wait any longer, I got my son out running the last 2 days with me because I've said, you know what? If this was any other year, you would have already been running all the time,
Mhm.
right? And he's falling behind every day that this thing goes on. He's 12 years old. This is a productive growth year, I believe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden you take away everything that this kid loves, which is soccer, basketball, friends, running, although it's just been ripped away from him.
Well, and it's a failure as we talk about to look at what I call that spider web impact of a business, the
Yeah.
spider web. So in the center you have soccer. We're going to cancel soccer. Fine, everybody thinks they're safe, but you're forgetting all the ripple effects of soccer. The people that make the sweaters, the print shops, the
Yeah.
referees, the college or high school kids who get part-time money refereeing, the parents who go to restaurants after games. Like these are all the people that work
Yeah.
on the fields and line the fields. They get paid for that. The fee you
Mhm.
pay that goes into the we haven't even talked about, we're talking about business, but look at the tax shortfalls there are going to be in every community, every
Yeah.
province, and federally. There's going to be no tax dollars because no one's doing anything, right?
Yeah.
So there's such a ripple. You can't, like Windsor, University of Windsor. What a short-sighted decision. If St. Clair College closes in Chatham, we're going to forget the ripple, the spider. Everybody's
Yeah.
connected. Everything's connected
Yeah.
to a point. We
Yeah.
can't do it. We have to think. We have to take our time and say, let's empower
Yeah.
people to say, okay, here's the conditions, right? Here are the conditions we're under. Let's make it happen. Let's make this business happen. How can we do that? With technology,
Yeah.
or you're talking soccer. I'm thinking, can you have a social distancing rule so you don't get a yellow card? But if you're too close
Yeah.
to a kid, the ref blows a whistle and you got to back off. Or I mean, there's got to be a way to play a game.
You know what? I'm strongly believing that you can play a game. You got to keep in mind when, I was out with some seniors that I have a seniors group I do
Mhm.
every Wednesday when at the Active Lifestyle Center, and we talk. And we were going to visit somebody for a birthday, Betty's 90th birthday. So we all go there. Now we're talking 10 seniors, okay? They
Yeah,
used to go to the Active Lifestyle Center. None of them have COVID.
right.
Zero of them have
As far
COVID,
as we know.
as far as we know. Okay. And they're so distant apart and nobody knows what to do. If you want to take it the next step, the UFC last week did a show. Okay. Everybody that was in the building was tested negative.
Wow.
Okay. They were good to go. Yet in there, they still are trying to distance. And it's just, except for the two fighters trying to kill themselves, but
Mhm.
save themselves from COVID. It was bizarre. But, we're going to have to get to a point where we're just going to have to let the kids play.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, kids that are outside are not really in the healthy kids that are outside are
Right.
definitely low risk. And, I myself, when you think about it, um, I want my kid to be living in away from people is no way to really live. And how long is that going to go for if we
Yeah,
let it?
I get a sense of we want to get on with it kind of mentality. People are a lot of people are saying, I want to get on with this. Let's get on with it. We when the White House gets COVID, the Prime Minister's wife gets COVID. It seems like, regardless of what Hank does in Blenheim or Ben does in Chatham, we're susceptible, regardless of how much we do this, because these are the. I mean, the president's place had COVID, and that's like hugely important, I guess, right? And the prime minister,
and that's everybody getting tested every day.
Oh yeah, the prime minister's house had COVID. He doesn't even have to get groceries. They don't even have to do it. So, what chance? So you start thinking, okay, we get to a point. Let's protect the vulnerable. Let's make sure seniors are taken care of. We test people. We're doing all the right things. But for the majority of the population, if you understand the risk and choose to take it, let's get back and get on with it. We talked about before in our other show with dates. You've got to tell gym owners, we're gonna, you show us your plan, and whether it's a health plan or whoever. The problem is you get into approvals and stuff, but someone has to say it's okay, or you just do it yourself to make sure the customers understand and get on with it, because otherwise there'll be no businesses left.
Yeah. And back to soccer. If you think about just my child in soccer who buys shoes from Sport Check, water bottle from another store, shorts to keep them going, socks, has a shirt made, the ice cream that parents go, if you go to watch a soccer field on a Wednesday night or Thursday night, you have hundreds and hundreds of kids. Soccer is the biggest sport in Chatham-Kent. It's probably the biggest sport in many areas. Many of those parents, after that, go out and to an ice cream shop or get a little snack somewhere with the kids, because that's what they do. You've eliminated all that.
Well,
right?
we talk about it tomorrow night on the the mental health side, but think of the stress you've released in those families. The parents have gotten out, they're talking to their other parents about kids. The kids are they're going to sleep probably pretty well that night. They're healthier. It reduces stress, and it gives them positive self-esteem. We haven't even talked about self-esteem, interactions with peers, issues of anxiety, and that's, we can talk about that tomorrow night at 8:00. But this is all about the business side of it. And as you mentioned with soccer, your son's in the middle of that spider web, and you and all the other families who aren't going to be playing soccer. And people need to understand all the other impacts of that. So when they say there's no more summer camps, what does that do when there's no more summer camps? What does that do to the support, the communities, all the small towns? Like we look at Mount Allison, okay? It's a small community in New Brunswick. 1,000 students come, their families come to see them regularly. There's a lot of economics with this, just like there is in Ridgetown at Guelph and in Chatham with St. Clair. So when someone decides, well, we're not going to have Mount Allison, we're not going to have St. Clair, we're not going to have Guelph. Okay, that's fine. You think you're protected, but you're not, because all of this other spider impact is going to happen to the entire community. So we need in business to think about that before we make these decisions to prohibit the gym from opening. If you stop this gym owner that from opening, what does that mean to him and his community or her?
Absolutely. Well, I think the one I was talking to, it's the only gym in the community.
Right.
So that kind of hurts them. And back to that spiderweb economics, if you look at downtown Toronto, which had huge draws for Raptors games, baseball games, hockey games, all these venues for concerts. You look at some of these businesses that have been around 20, 30 years. They're restaurants that's where they make their money those nights, right? They are not getting those nights anytime soon, and they're losing. I saw one guy, I was a multimillionaire 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? And now he's
commercial
losing.
rents, Ben? You're in real estate. What does it cost to rent a restaurant space or a store space in downtown Toronto? It's got to be tens or 20,000 a month. I don't know.
It's massive. Downtown Toronto it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
that,
1 or 2 months, 1 month hurts, right?
Well,
because you've got keep in mind, it's not that you're staying afloat. You have zero income, and all your expenses are there.
Well, I think one of the things
labor.
in the real estate business you're in, there's going to be a real push, as we talked about earlier, to be in a house with land around it, to be away from that high density living that people were pushing. So all these condos with high density living people are going to be saying, I want to be out of the town. I want to be in the country. I want to be in a place where there's high speed internet, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes from
Yeah.
town so that I can work from home. My families are safe. We have a garden. We can live on an acre or two. That's going to become, I think, something that won't
Mhm.
change, regardless of vaccines.
Yeah.
I think people have realized, that they need to do that. The question is, are communities ready for that? If 1,000 people come to live in your community or in Blenheim, where are they going to? There's nothing available. There's no
Right.
houses for sale, so they can't move here.
Mhm.
So that's a problem we have to overcome. But there's going to be a huge pent up demand in those areas we talked about. Different types of real estate, also seniors, and also home delivery and service industries are going to be extremely. They're already in high demand, but that's just going to continue to escalate.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be. I think this is going to be the age of the entrepreneur coming out here, of incredible thoughts as things change, and many entrepreneurs are already. There's a lot of people there doing well, especially with those service industries, um, that are taking advantage of these. Really, and I guess, like we said, it's not taking advantage. It's finding a space and finding a need and addressing that need and providing a service to those people that want it and need it at home.
Yeah, and I think all of us who have been around a while have to try to help people who are in that situation. So they're starting to build
Yep.
these businesses and they have questions. And as I said, I have a small group that I help. I have no room for anybody, so don't call me. But when we help these young people, the energy they have, and they're all doing very well. And the first thing I said to all the people I work with is have a 9 to 12 month contingency plan. So that if you do not sell one product or service for 9 to 12 months, what's your plan so that when you come out of this, you're ready to take on the world? And what are you going to do for those 9 or
Right.
12 months to build your business? And they all are doing great because that took away that psychological fear of what if this doesn't happen? I don't have any customers. How do I? So whether it's cash or lines of credit or whatever, some of the assistance of the government, although many didn't fit the criteria, and now they're doing amazing. They have new products and services, and they're doing very well. And there's other new products that need to be developed. That it's going to take some courage to step out right now and start a business. Like it's not easy, right?
Yep.
I mean, and also, the common term is pivot. How do you take a restaurant and turn that into a community kitchen where you're going to make
Yep.
money, teach classes and deliver home food and cut your overhead and maybe share that kitchen with 4 other restaurateurs who don't need it every day. They need it 2 days a week. So how are you willing to open up that model? So we need other models for food preparation because certainly a lot of us like that. Like to be able to have it delivered or go out. So how is that going to look? And I think the need's still going to be there. How they, meet that need will be about innovation, cooperation, and opportunity.
Absolutely. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. It is.
You don't want to say it's fun because people are suffering, but it is in a business sense. There are needs that need to be met, and I think we need to step up and do that.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Henry, it's been another hour.
We should tell people when we're on. We're going to do this 8 o'clock from now on at night.
Yeah, we'll try it. We might go back to the 7 a.m. We'll figure it out. We'll come up with a time next week.
Eh? You don't like to be nailed down. So tomorrow night we're doing 8 o'clock the mental health side, I think.
Yes.
Aren't you hoping pretty soon that this is over and everybody's good and our kind of thing isn't needed? What do you think?
I certainly hope that happens sooner than later, because like when we talk about our COVID conversations tomorrow night, and we've been doing this for 8-9 weeks.
I know.
And more people. You saw last week how many people had questions.
I know.
And they have concerns and they're stressed. It's building up more and more, the need. So it's kind of one of those things that you don't want to have to do. And then people are looking for answers on those days. You're actually providing an incredible service by doing that.
Well,
because we do answer a lot of questions.
I think I told you earlier at the start of the show, I was on the tractor for a day working up some soil for the Wildflower Bee Farm. That's another wildflowerbeefarm.com. But a simple thing is when you're on a tractor, I have a small tractor and I'm out there disking up the soil. You're so in a mental place of relaxation. You don't move. I didn't move for like 3 hours. And then my knee was killing me. And I realized I hadn't moved my leg in 3 hours because I was just focused on driving up and down the field, working up the soil. So there's something about tasks we can do that are therapeutic. And also business owners need to do this. So many business owners I know, like when they cook, they're so into their cooking that time flies and they haven't been able to do that, or whatever their business may be. Get back at it and do it if that gives you that mental rest. And also think about pivoting in business. How are you going to take, if you love food and people, we want to eat good food, how are you going to deliver good food? How are you going to create it so that we can do it regardless of what the model is? And you know, get together with 2 or 3 of your colleagues and figure this out and start getting on with it, because we've only got about a month or two and it's going to have to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that's another week here. That was fun again. Again, if you want to go, pireporters.com. And what is that? You say 30 days?
Yeah, you get 30 days for free. Just type in 30, the number 30, and DAYS, and Business Entrepreneur Weekly's on there. You can also read all the previous articles. We have a journalist who works for us. It's a work gig for him. So do it for free for 30 days. Cancel if you don't like it. But if you support us at $1.99 a month, we appreciate it after that. But at least you get to check us out a little bit and see what we're doing. And it's getting, every week we work on new stories and new ideas for business. And if you have an idea for business, let us know. We'll interview. It's not like advertising. We just want to know about your business and what you're doing. Yeah. And just get in touch with us. Go to the website. And if you have a story idea, just tell us and we'll come out and interview you and you'll be in our newspaper.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, Henry, thank you. And everybody watching, thank you as well. And talk to you next week.
See you tomorrow night at 8, Ben, and see you next week on this. See you. Bye-bye.
You know.